That's absolutely not the vibe. At New York Magazine, I don't think anyone has ever scrambled to get dressed or change their shoes for our editor-in-chief. Hi, I'm Rachel Handler. I'm a staff writer at Vulture, and today we're going to be fact-checking the portrayals of women in media on film and TV.
And you have no style or sense of fashion?
Well, I think that depends on what you're...
No. That wasn't a question.
This was not the vibe at the women's magazine that I worked at, but there was a sense of like, you had to sort of be presentable when I worked at a more fashion-centric magazine in my early 20s. And I definitely remember feeling a lot of pressure to dress a certain way and have my makeup done and sort of impress the boss. And one time she went around and talked to everybody and she was like, "Your outfit's acceptable, I love your outfit, I love your outfit," and then she skipped me.
We will present this to corporate first thing tomorrow morning.
Personally, I've never saved a magazine single-handedly, so I can't speak to that experience, but normally we have brainstorms where we all sit around and pitch ideas. If you have a really good idea, someone might laugh, but I've never been given a standing ovation when I had a pitch idea, so, you know, I'm still waiting for that moment.
I want you to write the piece.
What?
What?
Oh, no, I literally can't stomach sports.
Yeah, I know. Your opposition is perfection.
This really feels like a Bryson article.
Yeah, this feels like a me article. I pitched it.
Yeah, you pitched it. I'm giving it to Amy. What do you say?
I can
Give
do
me some attitude here.
I've never had anyone just be assigned a story that I just pitched. We have beats, but nobody feels like they own a specific beat. I also, you know, if someone assigned me a story about sports, I would have the exact same reaction as Amy Schumer in that clip. So that is very real. I've had a lot of crazy ass stuff written in comment sections, or people will send me Facebook messages. But I think the biggest thing is on Twitter, is like I'll get men on Twitter either correcting me about something and they're wrong, or they're really rude and say horrible, misogynist, anti-Semitic things. That's an unfortunate reality of journalism.
Can we just talk about my movie? Fuck! Your shitty movie!
This is a very common trope where a female journalist will hook up with the man that she's profiling. I mean, it's in Trainwreck, it's in a million different movies. It's extremely real, and we all hook up with all of our subjects. No, I've never hooked up with someone that I'm profiling or writing about, and I don't know that I know anyone who has. I'm sure it happens, but it definitely doesn't happen as much as you would think.
Rebecca? Did you just type good angles on APRs into Google?
I definitely think there are moments in every journalist's career where they're assigned something that they have no idea what they're writing about. I think the version of Googling good angles would be like Twitter sourcing today. Like, there are definitely journalists who are like, "Hey guys, like, just curious, what are some good movies about, you know, doctor?" Like, just something random where they don't know about it and they want to ask the Twitterverse for help.
You finished? I finished the whole article. I finished it from beginning to end.
I think as a writer, whenever you're faced with a blank page, you feel like an imposter. This is something that my friends and I talk about a lot. Like, every time you start a piece, you kind of feel like you don't know what you're doing. So I think that's extremely relatable. And then by the end of the piece, I'm like, oh, I tricked them again, you know, like.
My piece for The Atlantic fell through.
No, when?
Today. That was a call that I got.
Why?
They just bumped it for other stuff. It happens.
Sorry.
It's okay. I have a lot of irons in the fire.
I've definitely had pieces that are canceled at the last minute, especially with print. I think that happens a lot more because there's a lack of space. But her attitude about it is not real, because I feel like if you had a piece cut from The Atlantic, that means that you probably lost like several $1,000s that month. And as a freelancer, you need that money. She should probably have a conversation with her editor about what kind of kill fee she's gonna get. And if they're not gonna pay her a kill fee, can she shop it elsewhere?
I would like to know why the last associate producer before me made $50 a week more than I do.
Oh, because he was a man.
That is extremely real. I don't think anyone would ever put it that plainly. Like if you asked your manager, why does this person get paid more than me? They would never say it because he's a man. Obviously that's the joke. But men are definitely paid more than women, and that's sort of proven in the data. So even Mary Tyler Moore knew all those years ago that we'd still be fighting that fight today.
I mean, there's a lot of information in here, Heather, that is off the record.
You never said anything about off the record.
I presumed anything said while I was inside you was privileged.
People will say to me all the time in the middle of an interview, like, that's off the record. And because we're not in the business of screwing people over at Vulture, I usually agree, but the journalist has to agree. You can't just be like, this is off the record, and then it's off the record. I mean, most people don't know about the rules of things being off the record, so that is a rather accurate clip, I would say.
What are you doing?
I'm just showing you these briefs.
Well, don't. Julian, pull your pants up.
Oof, look at you in those Mary Janes.
Stop.
Yeah, when I first started out in my career, I think bad behavior by men in media was so rampant that I didn't even know it was bad, if that makes sense. I kind of just assumed it was part of the job. And then I think over the past few years, obviously with Me Too and the shitty media men list, it's become a lot easier to talk about, and I sort of have looked back on my own experiences and been like, wow, holy shit, that was really bad. And obviously Sex and the City was a little bit ahead of its time in pointing out this kind of behavior, but it's definitely gotten better.
Your father, Paquin?
Yes, that's right.
I'm Sasha Pfeiffer from the Boston Globe.
Okay.
Could I ask you a few questions?
Go ahead, dear.
We spoke to several men who knew you when they were boys at St. John the Baptist in Haverhill. They told us you molested them, is that true?
Sure, I fooled around her, but I never felt gratified myself.
So she is an amazing reporter, obviously. I mean, she meets the guy, she doesn't realize it's him. Suddenly she does realize it's him. She pulls out her stuff, starts writing, asks these questions very quickly off the top of her head. I mean, that's incredible. I've never asked like one question and had someone just be completely open and honest in a way that might harm their reputation. I would love to see more female journalists like Rachel McAdams on screen, where she's just good at her job, professional, and she's not sleeping with anyone she's talking to, she's not wasted, she's not a mess in her personal life. She's just a good journalist, and I think we see a lot more male journalists like that. Part of watching these movies when I was a kid, I was like, that's what I want to do, that looks so fun and glamorous. And it is fun, and it can be glamorous, but more often than not, it's like, you're Rachel McAdams and you're slogging away in the basement office, you know, working on a piece for hours and hours, and you don't really see a lot of that. Just the actual act of writing and how difficult that can be and how scary that can be. So I would love to see a little bit more of that.